Oh man. After the last few days I just had, I really needed this. Summer movie season is officially revving up now with F1, a film about the world of Formula One racing, something I have never watched or even thought about in my entire life. So I might not have had much desire to see this movie if it weren't for one particular name in the credits. Joe Kosinski, director of a little movie you might have heard about, Top Gun Maverick, also Tron Legacy. If Joe Kosinski is attached to a project, I'm paying attention. I don't care about F1 racing, I don't know the first thing about F1 racing, but with Kosinski in the director's chair, I know he's gonna make F1 racing bad. And he does, but there's more going on here than just the racing. I'll put this out there right off the bat. F1 is not terribly complicated. It's not trying to break any new storytelling ground. It doesn't stray very far from the typical formula you're used to seeing in movies like this, but it's cool, it's exciting, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. Now, yeah, on the surface, it does kind of follow the playbook for sports movies like this. The old veteran comes out of retirement for one last shot at the big time. He has to deal with this cocky young upstart teammate, and now they both have to learn to work together to win the big race. If you want to sum up the plot in about 10 seconds, that works. There aren't many shocking swerves. You can more or less suss out where the story is taking you, though there are a few curveballs in there. But what makes it work are the characters, the incredibly well-directed action, and the fact that it was obviously made by people who really love this shit. The same way Top Gun Maverick was a love letter to aviation, this film is a love letter to the cars and the sport and the business of F1 racing. And there's a genuineness about that that makes it really endearing, even if, like me, those things don't interest you personally. And it's full of genuine characters who are fun to spend time with and learn more about. With a movie like this, you can usually get away with characters who aren't necessarily that deep because the story is just about winning the big one or whatever, but F1 is really more about Brad Pitt trying to get a monkey off his back that's been there for 3 decades, Javier Bardem trying to save his job and his company from being sold, Carrie Condon trying to prove something to herself, Damson Idris trying to keep from becoming forgotten like Brad Pitt was 30 years ago, and the big race is just the vehicle that facilitates all that. The cast carry all that really well, they're charismatic, the dialogue pops, there are some clever lines in there, and the acting is top-notch. So even when there hadn't been a race in a minute, I was still enjoying spending time with these people because the story is well written and the characters are a lot of fun. You've got one guy who's not really in this because he's chasing that glory that always eluded him, although it's in the back of his mind somewhere, but because he just loves to race, and another guy who is in it for the glory but needs to get out of his own way and learn some humility first, and they find common ground in their different yet similar journeys of learning how to be team players. And it can go deeper than that too. Damson Idris is this arrogant rookie prick but is also really insecure, kind of social media obsessed and worried about his career tanking if he doesn't deliver the goods, and these are things he needs to get over. Brad Pitt is not really stepping outside his wheelhouse with this role, but he doesn't fall into the same pattern that Tom Cruise tends to, where he's less of a character and more of a superhero. Yeah, he's technically playing the cool guy, which Pitt can play in his sleep and sometimes does, but as good of a racer as his character is, his real talent is manipulating the rules of F1 and using them to his advantage in surprising ways, and even then his flaws can come out and he screws up a lot, and all this makes him pretty interesting. Sure, they're not really breaking the mold with any of this, but they don't necessarily have to, and it's not bad either. These are simple characters in a simple story that's told very well, and simple is the key word here. One of the things I appreciated the most about F1 is how refreshingly old school and uncomplicated it is. There's no politics, none of that lame shit or annoying tropes that are ruining modern movies and modern storytelling. For example, the male lead and the female lead like each other. Now, in most other films being made today, they would just keep things professional or choose not to pursue it so the woman could focus on her career or whatever, but not this time. Not in this movie. They have sexual tension, so you know what they do about that? They have sex! Like two red-blooded, attractive, horny, normal people. I know, right? Now apply that mindset to the rest of this film, and what you wind up with is a really delightful throwback to a time when movies were a lot less sterilized and a lot more fun. And speaking of fun, the racing sequences. Hot damn, they are spectacular. Kaczynski took the same magic he used on F-18 jets and applied it to F1 cars, mounting cameras all over those things, getting you inside the cockpit so it almost feels like you're driving the car. Even for a guy like me who doesn't really care about this stuff, it's hard not to get swept up in it to the point where I'm leaning forward in my seat as they kick into high gear like, holy crap, what's about to happen? Those sequences are as riveting and intense and visceral and gorgeous to look at as any racing scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And what makes it even better is that the racing scenes are really complicated with a ton of moving parts and could so easily turn into a chaotic mess. But Kaczynski is so good at staging action scenes and telling a story with action that it's always very clear where everybody is, what's happening, and why it's happening. And that does get tricky when Brad Pitt starts doing his bending the rules shtick, because I didn't know what the rules are, but they're really careful to account for that. So I'm like, wait, what's he doing? What's going on here? Oh, that's what that means. Okay, cool, I get it now. That was really smart. So the racing scenes are fantastic, the characters are well written, and the pacing is impeccable too. This is actually a pretty long film, and it doesn't feel that way at all. This movie flies by. When the credits rolled, I had to check the time on my phone. There was no f***ing way that was over 2.5 hours, but it was. I was kinda shocked. Have I praised this thing enough yet? F1 is just a really damn cool, fun, well-made film. An absolute recommend. It was the right movie at the right time after I just had to suffer through the polar opposite of all that stuff with Ironheart. And if you're looking for a perfect summer movie to kick off summer movie season, you're not gonna do better than this. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow all of my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And this channel is a one-man operation. I do all this stuff myself, so help me out by doing all the other YouTube things, smashing that like button, leaving a comment, sharing the video, subscribing if you haven't already, and making sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to crash its car at 200 miles per hour, flip over in the air 10 times in about 2 seconds, and get trapped in flaming wreckage on the side of the F1 track is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.